Welcome back to the Medical Disruptor for a part 2. This is the show where we challenge outdated medical norms and redefine what true wellness looks like. I bring you innovators, boundary breakers, and trailblazers all over the country, all over the world who refuse to accept the status quo. If you haven't heard part 1 of my interview with Dr. Camille, go back, watch that one first. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. In this episode, we shift from her personal story to full-blown education. We're breaking down the truth about hormone testing, why labs don't tell the full story, what E1, E2, E3 really means, and how understanding your metabolism could literally prevent breast cancer. We also talk about Dutch tests, gut health, detox, thermographies instead of mammograms. As always, this is not about making you fearful. This is not fear-based. It's power-based. And by the end of the episode, you'll have a lot more tools in your toolbox.
In the ER, you should not have return customers. I had my first baby and my body just imploded. This fertility doctor who's an OBGYN, who's on a board of a major residency program, he says to me, you have no testosterone, but you can deal with that after you have your baby. I quit my job the next day. And
wow.
I was like, I have got to figure this out. I got testosterone, fixed my hormones, instant life back. Naturally conceived my third baby.
Oh my God.
At the age of 40.
Insane.
Yeah. So this is really misunderstood, especially by mainstream doctors, is that, so for instance, if you're on like a topical cream, which I typically do testosterone, estrogen that way for women, your blood test is no longer very accurate. So I will typically either test those by saliva or like urine, like a Dutch test. And then that becomes much more accurate.
And that's so important to surface for a moment because we are so convinced that the only fluid that has information is blood.
Right.
So you go blood test, you go to blood test, you go to blood test. And so this idea of saliva, I mean, we're used to urine for like drug toxicity. I was sick if I take drug. But hello, like saliva and urine has so much information in it. Like, why are we so used to just using blood and not saliva? It's baffling.
Yeah.
So tell us why saliva is great for hormones.
Saliva actually checks all the free levels, right? So it's not checking the total, it's the free, which is like what's not bound by protein, what's available to your cells. So it gives us a much more accurate picture that way. But I've really been loving the Dutch test recently, the urine test, because this gets, I was always using saliva for many years. And then this is a whole kind of another topic, but we can get into. And again, it's personalized medicine because everyone's different. Everyone's personalized. And when you get into the Dutch test, that's when it takes personalization to a whole new level.
Dutch test is crazy.
The way it's now not only just the amount you have, it's like, how do you metabolize it? And that was really huge. One, I started doing it because, again, how do we prevent breast cancer? Not reactively wait till someone has it. And the Dutch test has a lot of really useful information about, are you metabolizing estrogen into really bad pathways that are much more prone to cause breast cancer DNA damage and stuff. I've been doing a lot of like deep dives into genetics and stuff for myself, and because it turns out I have really bad genes. And so I'm like, how do I prevent?
What are your genes? Are we talking like E3, E4 or something else?
Yeah, that methylation. I did this really interesting methylation panel because I did this. There's just a lot of health issues in my family. My mom ended up, she looks great. She's always been healthy. And I like to say she had, this was about 4 or 5 years ago. She saw her doctor, had a full physical, clean bill of health. A month later, she ends up in the ER over Christmas. Not only has a heart attack, but needs a quadruple bypass. She has like 98% occlusions in all 4 coronary arteries. She could have dropped dead at any minute. And I like to say nobody was more surprised than her doctor.
Yeah.
Because
so
cholesterol was
is perfect because we know 50% of heart attacks.
Right. And so I ended up getting her labs, and like it turned out he had checked inflammation markers many times and they were through the roof, did nothing about them. So
well, what does conventional medicine do for inflammation? Nothing. Just report it.
So just all these things that I just started like checking, and like methylation, ApoE, etc. And everyone knows about MTHFR. That's the big thing for methylation. And I had one minor defect. I'm like, this doesn't explain it. So there's this really cool full methylation panel through Genova that it was like, oh my gosh, MTHFR is like tip of the iceberg. It's like all down here's where the meat is. And I don't methylate at all down here. And then turns out I do have the ApoE gene as well. So just all these things, and we can talk more about in terms of breast cancer prevention. I don't know if you know about like thermography or ever talk
No,
about
tell
that.
us about it. Before we
Okay.
went to thermography, I just wanted to circle back on one last thing on the estrogen. Thermography we have not talked about, and I'm sure my
Okay.
audience is interested. The E1, when you see E1
Yeah.
elevated, what are you doing? Are you trying to like help improve like liver function? Like how do you get it down? And I imagine
Yeah.
that is something that you are going to want to measure again.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think about gut health, and then that's we could do a whole nother
Yeah, a
podcast
whole
on
other
gut
episode on
health.
gut health.
Like I alluded in the beginning of the thing, I was like, the gut health was like my okay. We have very unhealthy guts in this country.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
everyone, you
Yeah.
really can't not get into gut health if you're doing functional medicine, even hormones, right? Because even you like PCOS and endometriosis, there's a lot of gut health stuff. And most of these people, if you ask them, they do have, oh yeah, I have IBS or I have
Of course,
chronic
everyone has IBS.
constipation or whatever. So I do a lot of stool testing. I do a lot of GI map stool testing. And what you will find on there generally is this elevation of beta-glucuronidase. So that's an enzyme that it starts in the liver because part of my lab panel too, I'll do various liver, not just liver function, but like GGT, which is the total toxic burden of the liver. And so you will sometimes see elevations in those saying that the liver is a little overburdened, a little bit. We need to work on this. But a lot of times on the stool test, you'll see that the beta-glucuronidase is elevated. And so this is an enzyme the liver produces, and the liver is your main detoxifying organ. So liver is trying to detox, it's trying to detoxify your estrogens and stuff. So, it has to convert things and get them out of the body. And then as this enzyme gets higher and higher, what it does is it follows it around, grabs the stuff that your body is trying to get out and brings it back into circulation. So it's recirculating the waste that your liver is trying to eliminate. And that drives up this E1. The other time I've
So
seen
do you
it
like to
very
give calcium D or
yeah, so I mean,
glutarate or?
so the quick and easy way is calcium d-glucarate will get rid of the elevation of beta-glucuronidase. But usually the beta-glucuronidase is elevated because there's gut work to be done. So usually there's overgrowth of opportunistic bacteria or things like that. So I'll use various herbal protocols to get rid of that overgrowth and maybe work on liver because a lot of people don't really understand why do we take vitamins? What are vitamins? What's the point?
What's
right?
the waste? What's the point?
And
Just
it's
make
like,
expensive
well,
urine.
yeah, it's actually like a biochemistry.
Yes, it's such
right?
a. Did you
So when you
do functional medicine by any chance?
what?
Did you sit through Institute of Functional Medicine courses yet? IFM?
So there's basically like two main bodies for functional medicine. There's IFM and then there's A4M. So I did do board certifications through A4M.
Okay, so I did IFM, but I'm sure the biochemistry piece is insane. It's like the first time you really understand vitamins because you don't teach it in med school. The first time you're like, oh, you mean it's not just scurvy? So yeah,
and so that's when you like really go, okay, in order for my liver to work, it has to go through these multiple steps of detoxification.
Transformation.
And what drives each step? Oh, these vitamins, B vitamin, this, that, and other thing. So sometimes just adding, either doing like a liver cleanse with shakes and pills, which is mainly just giving all those cofactors. Like, what does the liver need to really work on? You give all those that the liver can.
Love this. This E1 conversation was really important. We've never had that conversation. Thank you for that. Tell me about thermography.
Yeah, so it's back to like, and that's why I really love functional medicine. And it's not all just hormones. It's a big piece of it. Because I always explain to people, it's how do we prevent disease? We're so focused on reactive medicine. Like you go to your doctor to be diagnosed with something.
Yes.
But I don't want to wait till I'm diagnosed.
Exactly.
How do I prevent it? And I tell my patients, the day you're diagnosed with something is not the day it started. This has been brewing for 10, 20, 30 year decades. And so if you do the right tests, you do the right things, then you'll see, okay, we're all on a path and that path is leading to somewhere, right? But if that path is leading to illness, but I do the right tests ahead of time and I say, okay, I'm going to add X, Y, and Z and I'm
headed
going
off
to
at the path.
change that path.
Absolutely.
And so with that is we are dealing really, if you think about breast cancer, it's an epidemic, right? It's like, I get so mad every time it's breast cancer awareness. I'm like, we're all aware.
Oh my God, but we're always, but every month,
we're all aware.
I speak about Awareness Month every month on TV. And that's all we do is we're aware that it's there. What are we doing?
What are we doing about it? And so there are things that you can do. One we talked about was like, don't let that estrogen dominance go on for 10 to 15 years during perimenopause. You give the progesterone. The other thing that you do is something like a Dutch test, because you can see that there's three main metabolites of estrogen. One of them is very carcinogen, associated with breast cancer. So like this, I did all these things on myself because I'm like, okay, I don't detoxify. I do the Dutch test. I'm like, sure enough, I'm making all the wrong pathways of estrogen, right? So I add in the right supplements and things like resveratrol and things like that to get my body to push the metabolites the other way. And then the other thing I do is I do thermography. So thermography is a non-radiation form of breast imaging. Okay. So the problem with the mammogram is that mammogram is CT scan radiation. In fact, just in the mainstream, like just on regular news outlets, I've seen recently a couple published stuff saying CT scans are adding to cancer. And they're saying a certain amount of cancers, all kinds of cancers are coming from CT scans, which we've always known. It's
We've
not
always
news.
known.
But you take a woman's breasts and go, I'm going to check for cancer every year, and I'm going to irradiate this tissue every year till I find cancer. And
My God, the way you just said that, you're making me nauseous. I'm going to irradiate it until I
and
surprise.
yeah, the truth is that we've known, a certain amount of breast cancers that are going to be diagnosed, unfortunately, are coming from the amount of radiation they got. And then the other problems with mammogram is that there's a certain amount of kind of incidental findings. I had a patient in here yesterday. She was telling me, oh my gosh, I had a mammogram for the first time. It was a nightmare. They made me do it 3 times because they kept thinking they saw us.
Right.
Then I had an ultrasound. Then they had me scheduled for a biopsy. And I get there and the radiologist says it's a lymph node. So the stress, there's a lot of evidence that some of the breast cancers they find, these little ones, would have been healed and repaired by the body. And so but I would say you got to pick a lane, because what happens is people rightfully are starting to have distrust of the medical society, right? And so what you want to do is just stay away. But the problem with that is, you're just going to stay away until something develops. And so how do we prevent it? And so thermography is basically, it's just a picture. It's really interesting. I actually had my first one because I actually thought it was an ultrasound, but it's not. It's actually a picture. And you think about a PET scan. Most people know what a PET scan is. A PET scan is like an image of like your whole body when you have cancer, because it's looking for heat. Cancer is very metabolic. So it's a hyperactive metabolic tissue. And so there's a lot of heat with that. And so a PET scan is like scans you for heat. And that's what thermography is. They literally take pictures of your breast, non-radiation pictures, looking for heat. And it was really interesting because, again, I shouldn't wrap myself up, like, because I'm like, oh, I do everything right. This could be great. Like I eat low inflammation and I take all my supplements and I work out. And no, I get this abysmal score.
Out of here.
Yeah. This was before I did all the Dutch and stuff and realized my genetics were crap. But so they score you and it's really cool. So it's like 1 through 4. And it's like 1 is green, which is how much like inflammation is present, basically. And then 4 is you probably have cancer. That's not good. And I got all these like 3s and 3+. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they're like, even the person was like, this is not good. But what it's showing is, and it really goes back to like, why does breast cancer develop? A lot of it is lymph flow. We're stagnant in here. We don't focus on our lymph flow. We don't do any lymph massage, these kinds of things. And some people are these estrogen metabolites, inflammatory foods, etc. And so anyways, after this, they were like, oh my gosh, it's really bad. You should probably get a mammogram. So I was like, okay, I'll try this. So I got a mammogram and then it was just like normal, right? So my husband was like, what was all this about this scary report and then your mammogram? So I'm like, go think about it. The mammogram is only going to tell me when I have cancer.
Exactly.
But now I have all this stuff. So it's like, I started, okay, I need to do lymph massage. I can do castor oil packs on my breasts. I can do rebounding. I do a sauna more. I have a red light sauna. Then I did the Dutch test on my metabolite. So it gives you like tangible things that you can work on to hopefully, again, prevent, because I was on a path that was not going to a good
Absolutely
place.
right.
But I can intervene and change that. Right? So instead of
now we have to wait to see your next thermography. Okay, we're all rooting for you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, the thing with thermography is, unfortunately, like most things in alternative medicine,
not
is
covered
by insurance, that you can go online and find someone in your area. It's usually about $200 to $300 for the thermography.
But this is really, it's really important. I just listened to another, she was on my podcast, maybe we'll get her on, another OBGYN, and she was talking about mammograms as causing the cancer. And right, not everyone who gets a mammogram, that's causing it. We understand that. But the concept of every year, let's radiate this one body part. Like we would not, if I said you get an abdominal CAT scan every year, you'd be like, are you crazy? I'm
Get to
gonna
screen for
do.
cancer. Let's
Yeah.
CT your belly every year to see if you have a cancer in there.
Yeah, it's so counterintuitive when you say it's so straight like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But you're right about picking a lane. So this is the conversation. You have to choose one way or the other. To just be like, I'm out, that's not it.
I don't think that's a good idea.
So choose one way or the other. This is true also for my patients who are already sick, who need to be on medication. You can't just say, I don't want meds. So then change your life.
Right.
If you're not going to change your life, then be on the meds, because the meds will also will prevent morbidity and mortality if you are on this. We know that. You can't just be like, no, I'm out, and then go back to the pizza. So one way or the other, you have to choose a lane. You don't have to. You can do what you want. It's not going to work out for you.
It's best.
But yeah, I like that you said that. Choose a lane and don't just be blind to it. So if you don't want to do the mammogram, get something. Get something that, oh my God, I love that so much. All right, this is amazing. So you practice now, you do functional medicine. Okay.
Yeah.
How do people find you?
I do have a website. It's being revamped, but it's just everything's drcamillemd.com. So you can find me on Instagram, Dr. Camille MD. You can find me online, Dr. Camille MD. And I do virtual patients. I am licensed in California, Texas, and Florida for full prescriptions and everything. And yeah. And I'm actually opening a second location. I'm in Bakersfield, California. I'm actually opening a smaller satellite in Orange County, California, because I do have a lot of patients throughout the state. And but yeah,
that's awesome. What is the person's problem that is seeking you? What are they dealing with? And then they're searching for you.
I'm very full service. I see it all. I do naturally gravitate. You can see how excited I get about hormones just because it's just so easy to make someone feel so much better.
Yeah.
I do a lot of gut stuff. The gut's not sexy or fun to treat. Okay, I'm on a podcast. Yeah. The gut is not sexy or fun to treat, but it's so important. I always say the health of the gut is the health of the human. And so, 80% of our immune system tells there. So I do a lot of gut. And it's unfortunately, we don't have healthy guts in this country. Our food is poison.
Yep.
Well, another conversation for another day.
Another conversation.
But most of us don't have healthy guts. And so I do that. There's a lot of reasons why people aren't healthy, right? There's autoimmune conditions that aren't the same thing that autoimmune is. Take these steroids, suppress your immune system, and just wait for it to get worse. It's like, is there anything else?
Don't get it started on autoimmune.
Yeah, sorry, I do the whole gamut.
Don't get me started on that. It's a whole other topic too. Oh my goodness. We have to choose a lane here too, Dr. Camille.
Yeah, and then that's what's hard, because I mentioned earlier, is I do still work in the ER some, and it is so difficult.
Oh, that's the one thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, it's really difficult to go see that side, because I always come home and I tell my family, I'm like, we're going to do better.
Oh my God. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Really hard.
I still practice primary care, and I love my primary care patients. They've been with me for a long time. And I still also see new patients. But to watch people struggle through diseases that are truly optional.
It's hard.
It is hard. It gets harder and harder every day. And I spend a lot of time, my waiting room gets backed up because I can't just treat and street, which you have to do in ER. I can't do it. I'm like, let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
Take another moment to think. Maybe there's a better way. Most of the time I go unheard. Every once in a while, somebody comes and says, okay, I listened to the podcast and I'm going to do this X, Y, Z. But it's disheartening to watch the population get sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
And my hands are tied. But it's not just the fault of the provider, because here's a provider telling you what to do. Okay, I'm telling you don't have to be this sick. Watch this, do this. But there is such resistance from patients as well, who have also been brainwashed. Like, fine, like it's fine. So my A1C is great. It's at 6.2. It used to be a 9.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why is 6.2 okay? So it's really hard, because
it's hard to get through to people. A lot of people, like in the ER, they don't actually want to hear it. It's every now and then I encounter a person who's like, I'm really struggling, but can someone help me? And I'm like, okay, they're ready for some truth.
Yeah, they're ready for some truth.
The other people, they are very resistant. They'll get angry.
Yeah.
Hear stuff.
Yeah, 100%. What has been accepted as normal and good is so shifted. It's so deviated from what actually is normal that it's very hard to be like, this is not Even
Yeah.
let's say 5.7, it's not it. That's not it.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Even at 5.2, you could still be insulin resistant and still like playing catch up.
Yeah.
So it is hard.
There's a lot of education, a lot of, and that's why like the ER people, like I said, I have to see that someone's open to it. In my clinic, most people are at least open. That's why they're here. And so it's easier, but there's still a lot of education because things that you think are just so obvious and straightforward, it's like they've never heard.
I feel like in the ER, and I could be wrong, like my son is thinking of going into ER medicine and he's pre-med now. And he grows up with functional medicine, but he's mom, I really think I could do ER knowing this functional medicine stuff, because in the ER, there's just emergency. You have to treat it. Like you can't treat a heart attack with functional medicine. You can't be independent.
Yeah.
I think I won't have this conflict.
And also, I'm so thankful of all the specialties that I went into was ER, because that's the only way I'm able to still practice today, because there's no way I could do internal medicine or ER. It's all emergencies, right? And some of it is more like, okay, they have chronic gut, but still in that moment, you're like, okay, I'm ruling out emergencies. You don't have appendicitis, but so it's the only
you can feel good about your medicine because this is the only thing that's going to save them now.
Yeah.
And you don't have to second guess it like, oh, should I have given them castor oil? No. So there's something wonderful about emergency medicine. I don't know, this is the only way. And then when you get out, you can treat your inflammation.
Do right now, for sure.
So I'm happy for you. That is the
feeling
you
for the heart attack.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Dr. Camille, thank you so much for being here. We're going to put all your links on our website. If you're in California or any of the other states that you're licensed in, go see Dr. Camille. And thanks for being
fun. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, that was part 2 of my interview with Dr. Camille. And if your head is spinning in the best way, good. We're not here to make medicine comfortable. We're here to push the boundaries. We're here to make it make sense. From estrogen dominance to breast cancer prevention, to why from estrogen dominance to breast cancer prevention, to why so many women are misled about their hormones. This is the kind of conversation that saves lives. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend, leave a review. And as always, remember, you're not crazy. You're just unheard. If you want my merch, if you want my courses, if you want my book, go on my website, drefratlamondre.com. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, please apply to my waiting list. If you're a nurse practitioner, go to my other website called egprep.com. Wherever you are, don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave a review. It helps us reach more disruptors like you. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep disrupting.